Welcome to my channel. Today we will meet a creepy neighbor. A woman from Ohio lived alone in her apartment. She liked to keep her closet door open at night because it helped her sleep better. One night, while she was fast asleep, she heard some breathing coming from inside her closet. She opened her eyes and stared at the closet door for a few seconds. The breathing became louder and the closet door started moving slowly. She got out of bed and cautiously approached the closet. With each step, the breathing became more audible. She reached out, grabbed the doorknob and slowly opened the door. There was no one in the closet. It was empty except for a small secret staircase that led down into darkness. She felt a sudden surge of adrenaline and quickly slammed the door shut. She leaned against the door, trying to calm her racing heart. As she looked around the room, she noticed something strange. All of her windows were wide open and the curtains had been torn from their hangers and were now on the floor. She remembered vividly how she had closed every window and locked every door before going to bed. She decided to call the police and report the incident. They arrived quickly and searched the apartment, but found nothing unusual. They suggested that perhaps she had slept through some intruders who had come in, taken whatever they wanted and left again. But something about this did not make sense to her. She knew she would have woken up if someone had entered her apartment. And besides, nothing was stolen. Her jewelry and money were still there. Nothing was out of place except for the open closet door. Days turned into weeks, but the incident continued to bother her. She couldn't understand why someone would break into her home and do nothing. The fear of another intrusion kept her up at night. She tried calling the police again, but they dismissed her concerns, saying it was most likely a one-off incident and that she should move on. One night, the woman was awoken by loud banging on her front door. She screamed and hid in her bathroom until the commotion outside subsided. When she finally gathered the courage to leave the bathroom and check, she found a note under her door that read, "Let me in. Please let me in." The handwriting was shaky and urgent. Below the message were 3 small scratches, as if the person who had written it had dug their nails into the paper in a panic. She immediately called the police, but when they arrived, the only unusual thing they found was a note. Again, they suggested that perhaps it was a prank call and told her to just ignore it. But she couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that had settled in her stomach. The following day, she decided to confront her neighbor. She knocked on his door, but there was no answer. She tried the doorknob and found that the door was unlocked. As she stepped inside, she noticed that the apartment was empty. There was no sign of her neighbor or any of her belongings. The place was eerily silent. Curious, she decided to check the neighbor's closet. To her surprise, she found the same small secret staircase that she had seen in her own closet. She cautiously descended the stairs and found herself in a dimly lit basement. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past her, sending a shiver down her spine. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she noticed something horrifying. The walls were covered with pictures of her sleeping in various positions. Some were recent, taken probably within the last few days. Others seemed much older. They were all different sizes, some no bigger than postcards, while others were full length. What was her neighbor doing? Had he been watching her all along? How long had he been living in the apartment above her without her knowing? She wanted to scream, to run, but she found herself frozen in place, paralyzed by fear and 1,000 questions. Suddenly, a noise from above made her jump. Someone was walking in her apartment. The sound of footsteps grew louder. Then a voice. "Who's there? Hello? Is anyone home?" The voice belonged to the woman's neighbor. He was walking towards his closet, towards the basement where she was hiding. She had only one option: escape through a window and leave the building as fast as she could. Once outside, she ran as fast as her legs would carry her, not stopping until she reached the safety of her car. The next morning, the sun shone brightly, casting away the shadows of the night before. Still shaken but determined, the woman returned to her apartment. She contacted the authorities, who finally took her concerns seriously. Her neighbor was questioned and the pictures in his apartment were examined. What they discovered was shocking. The neighbor was an elderly man who had moved into the apartment above hers just a few months prior. He was known to be harmless, a quiet old man who kept to himself. But the pictures revealed a dark secret. The man had been stalking her, taking pictures of her sleeping in her own apartment. The scratches on the note had been made by his wife, who had passed away recently. He had been driven by an obsessive desire to be with her even in death. The man was arrested and the woman could finally begin to heal from the trauma he had inflicted upon her.